Right, hello and welcome. It is Myst Book Club Day, and we are here with Everett, who is coming to us from the International Space Station again. You want to
hello.
introduce? It's
We
not that bad.
unfortunately
I'll fix them.
we unfortunately could not make progress on the audio quality this time, but hopefully I will have things figured out for next time. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's technical stuff is always it's a little bit of a battle. It's a little bit of a battle. Something that I know way too much about these days with the all the computer stuff that's been going on. So for today, we had read. Why did my bookmark fall out? That's lovely. We had read the prologue here for Book of Denis. So I finally cracked into the legendary book that everybody's been telling me, boy, I can't wait until you get to this one to see what you think about it. Which, so far seems like more of the same sort of thing that we've had before, honestly. Although I some thoughts about the writing quality in this one a little bit so far. I refuse to make judgments about the whole book based on just this a little bit, but I don't know. It was a little bit better. Did David Wingrove get better in the interim? Wouldn't that be a twist? I would be shocked if that were the case. I still assume that it's mostly him because he's the author that they brought in. I mean, I guess I don't really know how much is Rand because they are both credited, but I did look at the acknowledgements, which I didn't like exactly line count it, but it does feel like the shortest one of the three. And it certainly thanks the fewest of the three, which I found intriguing. I was like, does this mean that everybody else who possibly helped them through this process gave up by now? They were all like, you guys are a lost cause. I need to pull my mic audio down a tiny bit. You guys are a lost cause. We're not going to help you anymore, because the only four people in the acknowledgements are Chris Brandkamp, Richard Watson, and Ryan Miller, and then David Wingrove is thanked as well, which I find a little weird in the acknowledgements because, like, I don't know, he's a credited author, so it's like, I don't know why it's what they felt they wanted to do. I mean, no surprise that we see Richard Watson again. He's been in all of them. He'll be a figure that I'm sure we talk about after. I mean, if you want to do the Watson letters after we do Book of Denis, that could be a wild ride, lore-wise.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, you and I have talked about that. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
That's certainly a possibility.
Because he has some things to say about lore. He might be a little bit more, at least, decisive about it than the Millers. Will I say he's... I mean, how do you say whether he's correct or not? Because he's such an integral part of the development process. I don't know. But either way, I think he might be a little bit more firm on what he thinks, or as they've maybe gone back and forth a little bit, but it's hard to say. I haven't read all of his. I looked at the letters a little bit and thought, oh my God, this is a mess, and left it. I found it a little bit interesting. It's like they're tired, or like Rand is tired, assuming that he didn't sign this acknowledgments. He signed the last one. And I found it like it's sort of like halfway in character, as it were, because the introduction to Book of Tiana was like, these are actual, like this, we translated these documents, these actual Denis documents. Welcome, Azrael. And this is like a real thing that we're really writing about. Like, it's not our story, it's their story that they wrote and we just translated it, right? And that was very much the acknowledgments for the second book, whereas the first book was more of just like a normal book acknowledgments. And this one I feel like is like halfway in between, because it's a little bit ambiguous. Like, you could kind of read it as in character a bit, because it's like it further uncovers the Denis and their history. We've scratched the surface of this fascinatingly rich civilization. And it's like, okay, I mean, that, you know, kind of in character, but it's not as determined to be in character as the last one. So, although it does do the stunning past events of a civilization that continues to live and to teach, it's like, okay, all right, Rand. Sure. And I'm sure they're also based in New Mexico, because that's totally a thing that happened. But it you know, the lack of the signing it, the lack of dedication to being in character, where it's just sort of half-hearted. It's like, were you guys okay? I mean, were you exhausted from getting Riven ready? Like, because this did come out the same year that the game was released.
Well, yeah, and I think that's so something we didn't get to last time is that, you know, in my opinion, this holds the record for a project on the same IP by the same team. I mean, different people were doing different things, but overall the same group of people, to produce content back to back with such a variance in quality.
Yeah.
And
and the speed of development here is also like, just they got a book out every year for 3 years, and that's kind of crazy. Like, I don't even know how you like just literally writing that many words down and getting it through the, like, one hopes the editorial process, although one does not entirely know after reading Book of Tiana. Where there were literal missing punctuation at the end of paragraphs. It just, that takes a certain amount of time, and it does make me wonder, were they all written, like, was there any pause between writing them at all? Because then it was just sent out to the publisher and the editor and everything to be printed, and they must have gotten the book deal like immediately, to have gotten the first one out the year after Myst came out, right? Or 2 years?
Two
years,
years,
right?
yeah.
2 years, yeah.
I mean, I don't think it would have been hard for them to get a book deal at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. It did take off pretty intensely. And I mean, the book business was different then as well. I guess I have to remember than when I was involved at all in books. Not that I was on the publishing end of things, I was on the selling end of things, but you do learn stuff about, like, sort of what the publishing cycle would be like, and how hard it may or may not be to get a publisher, you know, when you're working with books at all. But yeah, I mean, it would have been grueling So I can kind of understand if they were tired by this point, and especially Rand, because like David Wingrove would not have been involved at all in getting Riven out. And I know that, you know, as of the second book, Robin was working on that rather than writing. Like, he wasn't involved in the book. He was only involved, he was working on the game end of things. Like, it says in the acknowledgments of that one that, like, hey, Robin's not involved in this one. He's busy doing another Myst project, which of course they wouldn't have said what it was at the time, because like it would have been too early to announce. Because it wouldn't be like now where it's like 3 years ahead they announce a game, and it's just kind of normal if the game doesn't come out for 3 years after the announcement. Like, that's not how it worked. I don't know. It was almost a little concerning to feel like the acknowledgments were tired all the same, even though it's 100% understandable, because, you know, he would have been tired. Like, it's a lot. This is a lot. Like, there is a reason that this is unusual. You know, because the work schedule that you would have to have for this would be crazy. So, like, to a certain extent, I want to allow some kind of leniency for that, but I also kind of don't, because I'm still a little mad at them for the quality of the first two.
Well, and well, and we'll see where you go with the third one here, but
Yeah.
The time that this is just a really fascinating, to me, this question that I'm sure all of us will, you know, return to many times over the course of this, is what happened here? What, with the concurrent development of Riven and the Book of Dunny? Because it's clear these were concurrent projects, right? I was saying that, you know, this holds the record for the biggest gap in quality. I think that the runner-up for that, for me, and you and I have talked about this a bit before, but is what we now know of as Star Wars Episode 4 and the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah.
But even
Star Wars Holiday Special, never forget.
Even there was a 17-month gap, and it's pretty.
Oh yeah, they had longer.
That there was the first project came to an end. They were not planning the second project yet, and then they haphazardly and hurriedly then did a second project using borrowing pretty extensively from bits and pieces of leftover stuff from the previous project, and even straight up just footage from the previous project. But here it's about 3 months apart, and so these are actual concurrent projects. Like they knew the plan was that these two were going to go out together, that this was going to be a coupling. I mean, obviously one's a sequel to the other, but it was there would have been days when at least Rand, maybe other people too, woke up and did some work on both projects on the same day.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the only person of these people, of the people in the acknowledgements, for example, plus Rand, the only person that we can be 100% sure, or at least, allowing a like 1% chance that we're wrong, didn't, 99% sure didn't work on Riven at all would be Wingrove. Because he was brought in just to write the novels. But other than that, I mean, Chris Brandcamp, Richard Watson, Ryan Miller, along with Rand, they may have been consulting with things. I mean, Watson almost certainly for Riven, because they lean on him extensively for lore stuff. So I can't imagine that I haven't looked at the credits for Riven, to be honest, in a while. I know I did at the time that we were going over it on stream, but I don't remember. But, credited or not, I feel like he certainly would have been. And so we don't really know for the rest of them, but like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would have been, I could never.
Mhm.
And, the back-to-back, just getting 3 books out, one every year, it's pretty grueling. I mean, there are plenty of authors who do that. I mean, I'm thinking a lot of like genre authors, particularly romance authors, they're writing more to spec than anything, and so they're just kind of cranking these things out. It's certainly possible, but that would have been a pretty heavy workload for Wingrove as well. Only he wouldn't have also been working on a game. He would have only been working on books. So that would have been really the only difference. But his workload wasn't light either. So this was pretty crazy. I mean, I'm sure it's not well, in terms of the game integration business, it might be unprecedented. I don't know. I don't know if anybody before or since has managed this. Particularly, I mean, things like a large property, like there are a lot of like Halo books, World of Warcraft books, things like that. But like that's a large company developing those. So it's not like the same person is responsible for even overseeing the books, much less writing the books and doing the game. Right. Whereas this is like, Rand is deeply involved in both and also acting in the game. Not that it's a lot of footage, but like that's still a few filming days, Like that's there was a lot to do. So as much as I'm probably going to dunk on this in the upcoming weeks, let's take a moment here at the beginning to just acknowledge that that's impressive. Like what they managed, the fact that this exists and that Riven also exists and that both were finished, which in today's world is a wild idea that you would release a game that's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is impressive. They did something here. Is it good? Well, that's a question we'll be answering in the future, but did they do it? They did, and that's I'm impressed with that. So I will acknowledge that now because I will probably forget to be kind after a while.
Yeah, and I will also, and I will have positive things to say today, I know. But yeah, I will try to be positive. I will be positive where I can, because
Yeah, it's
we'll
like,
all need that for our well-being.
yeah, and it doesn't feel great to me on the whole to just be like mean about a creative work the whole way through. It just got progressively harder for me to be nice about them. Welcome, Astral Orca. So I don't know how this one's going to be, but at least I had a break, I guess. So it's not maybe I can come back to it with a little bit of a kinder view at this point. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I just want to say at the beginning here, like, what they did was impressive. They got this done, and that was an insane amount of work. And they must have been just like juggling so many things, especially Rand, because he was back and forth between both Riven and the book. Well, books, because I mean, obviously we know that development was happening on Riven during the writing of Tiana because of the acknowledgments about Robin. But it would have still been, it probably would have been even more frantic during the writing of Denis because Riven would have been getting closer and closer to release, as they were doing that. So it must have been crazy, and it must have been a lot of pressure, and it must have been a lot of risk because they were a small company. And so you've got a lot more financial stuff on the line in that situation. So let's just acknowledge that now and have it be a blanket statement that we're impressed that it happened before we have any content from the book itself.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And I do want to say hello to Miss Orca, who is currently going through Riven 2024 and doing a very good job. So it's nice to see you here.
Well, I hope you're enjoying Riven 2024. I do actually think, despite the, like, my only major quibble with it is the lack of the FMV stuff, where it's 3D people. Like, honestly, it's pretty good. I mean, a couple of puzzles are a little, the new puzzles, that is. But overall, I thought it was a really good update to it. And the fact that things changed, I think, was good, because then even if you had Riven 1997 memorized, you can't rely on that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying it as well, Astro Guy.
And I think while we're talking about the impressiveness of what was going on in 1997, I do want to say, both from Robin's perspective and from the perspective of everybody other than Robin, there's also this dynamic of, right, he's working on the project in protest to whole chunks of the project. And so because he will be working on Riven while he's uninvolved in the other half because he doesn't like the other half.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting dynamic too. And
yeah, it's hard to say how much that may or may not, like, how much his opinion of it would have affected how Rand felt about it, or what he did. I'm guessing, since Robin continues to be unhappy with it, that it didn't really change very much, but I don't really know.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to have impacted Rand's view much, because he's right. Going off, and not even going off, he's sitting right there concurrently doing all these things that his brother doesn't want him to do. So
what must that have been like working on Riven, though? I mean, because they were working together for that, like, it, and their family. So it's like there's a lot of time they had to be together doing things while disagreeing fundamentally about a creative project. Like, that's a volatile situation, and they still managed to get these things out.
Yeah. So that's just another layer of what was going on then that you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but like, there would have been a lot of sort of tension happening. More specifically, but like, could you really put it out of your mind? Like, I was gonna say more specifically when Rand was like in Riven mode, because that's when he would have been, like, he could have secluded himself from Robin during the writing stuff, but he can't for Riven. I mean, they have to work together for that, right? So, I was going to say specifically for that, but could you put it out of your mind? I mean, like, if you know that, your brother, your working partner, objects to what you're doing over here when you are over here, can you forget about that entirely? Can you put that out of your mind? I mean, I don't know if you can. Maybe he can. Maybe he couldn't. I don't know. But I feel like the tension certainly would be there. It would be weird. I couldn't handle it. I'd be like, I'm bailing on both projects. Forget this. I can't be doing all of this. Because that would be on top of just the work schedule. Knowing that I was in creative conflict with someone close to me, it would destroy my ability to creatively function on either of them, I think. But somehow they pushed through. Somehow they managed to do it.
Yeah, and it doesn't appear from what's publicly known to have damaged their personal relationship.
Which is also impressive. Let's be real. I would be like, I need to not talk to you. Like, the project's over, and I'd be like, I need to not talk to you for like 10 years, okay? And then we'll come back to this.
Yeah,
it would be rough for me. I don't know.
But yeah, and even just from the perspective of marketing and press availability, right? Because and I mean, I don't know how much press the Miller brothers did, there would have been, I know there would have been some.
There would have been some, yeah.
But Rand would have to know that, okay, if we send Robin out to do an interview, and then he's asked, oh hey, and then are you should we be looking forward to the book that's about to come out? What should we be anticipating for the sequel? Right? That Rand would know that
Robin would not be happy
not going
about
to be able to. That they can't put Robin out as the face of the project.
Right. Not alone. I mean, he would have to have like handler is a rough word, but like somebody there to like jump in over him. I mean, I'm specifically thinking of an instance like when I forget what's the kid's name? The young man who has played Spider-Man in the live action films, Sony and Marvel lately. When he's been on press tour,
are we talking about Andrew Garfield or
no, we're talking
or Tom Holland?
No, Tom Holland, that one. So when Tom Holland,
unfortunately, we live in a world where 3 people
that is true.
Match that.
Thank you, Astro. Yeah, well, I mean, like more currently, although like technically there was that movie with like everybody. Anyway, regardless, Tom Holland, when he's been on press tours, he's like really bad about just spilling stuff that he's not supposed to say when they go like saying spoilers basically. So they kept sending him out, and this was probably also like a proximity thing that Benedict Cumberbatch ended up being the guy who was with him all the time, like just they probably would have been more physically close to each other, depending on where they're actually living these days. I guess I don't know. But they were always sending, like, there are literal compilations of Benedict Cumberbatch like being his handler essentially during interviews, where he'll like jump in to shut him up when he's about to say something. And like they don't let Tom Holland do interviews by himself because he's gonna spill secrets. I'm just imagining like, oh God, you can't send Robin by himself. You need to send somebody with him to like put a hand over his mouth if they ask about the books.
Yeah.
Because he might go off.
Yeah. Definitely that kind of situation. And it takes I wonder how much, and this is a bit of a side thing, but I wonder how much for actors I wonder how much of the audition process is prediction of how well the actor will toe the party line during those press availabilities. Because
I don't know.
Because it takes a lot to have to bring in an actor who is going to be a loose cannon.
Yeah.
Because of the value of the actor. I mean, I think of Star Wars Episode 8, right, where Mark Hamill was just openly not only disliked the film, but like gave meaningfully profound moral criticisms of the content of the film. But because he's Mark Hamill,
I mean, like they can't.
Yeah,
like they don't have a choice at that point. It's sort of like they didn't know Tom Holland would be a spoiler factory, but then once he was cast, they're kind of stuck there now because it would publicly look really bad to fire him just for that. So like they just have to send someone with him. They just can't send him by himself. Like in certain situations you end up stuck. I mean, with these series kind of things. I don't know how much they're concerned about that. I mean, I think maybe, Mark Hamill couldn't always have been a loose cannon. Like there was certainly a time where he would have had to toe the party line or not get jobs afterward. But like once you become like a super A-list celebrity, it's like your name is going to sell the movie. So like, what are they going to do about it? Right. They kind of, at that point, it's sort of a moot point, I think. But, early in their career, it's like, can you even be? I mean, I don't know if they consider it or not. I mean, with new talent, it's going to be hard to know. Maybe that's why they don't take risks on that anymore. In the age of social media, it's like you see a lot of just the same actors over and over again in projects, and it's like, I wonder if that is part of it. Now that you bring it up, it's like maybe because they know whether these people like how they're going to behave on press tours, and new talent you don't, so you're only going to bring it in when you have to. That could be part of it. I don't really know, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know how much press they did back then. I mean, I know that there is old footage of a few interviews and things, but I don't know how much pre-release stuff. And I honestly don't know how much they would have been asked about the books to begin with. Because I feel like books that go with or are of video games have never been taken all that seriously. And I don't know how they felt in 1990s about that, but I don't imagine that it would have been especially... They certainly would not have expected anyone to be doing in-depth critiques of them, years down the line.
Yeah. And I would assume at the time the press that they were dealing with was mostly niche press.
Yeah.
It would have been
game magazines and things like that. Yeah. Things that wouldn't have made it to, CBS News or anything. Like they're not coming to interview them about. Well, I mean, they might have done right in the wake of Myst because it was such a breakout thing. Like that was surprising. But I don't know that they would have been covering upcoming things like that. It would have been very, very niche things at the time, I would think. But the Myst also has an interesting place in video game history because it's one of those where it sort of like when the Wii was out and Wii Fit and like everybody wanted to buy the Wii and have Wii Fit. And it was like all of these people who are not gamers all of a sudden are interested in a game, and it's like, or a game system. And the people who have been there the whole time, I'm going to use gamers kind of in a particular way here, like the people who are where that's sort of their whole identity, right? Like I certainly do not fit in that. Obviously I play games, I stream them, but I don't really consider myself a gamer, partly because I'm not very good at them. But there was certainly a fair, and I mean, you can find a fair amount of evidence of this, that there's a fairly negative reaction, and still is to a certain extent, about the Myst series among like gamers, because it's like, oh no, now the public thinks they're gaming. How dare they? This isn't a real game. This is just you're clicking through screens. This is like a DVD. What are you talking about? This isn't a game, right? Like there's a certain amount of that has always been on the gamer side about the series. I mean, certainly it has softened over the years, but I feel like initially it was like, oh, well, you thought that Mario was stupid, but you like this? Like there was a certain amount, if you play game equals gamer, in the technical sense, Astral Orca, in the technical sense. I think the difference here is what I'm specifically talking about is capital G gamers. People where they make it very much where somebody would be like, I am a gamer. I guess in my particular use case here, it might be considered gamer parentheses pejorative. But to some extent, I mean, I'm sure they would see me talking about it that way. But and that's the kind of gamer that I certainly am not. I'm not like deeply steeped in the culture. I don't like breathe it every day. I do live with somebody who's certainly more on that side, but is still not like in the middle of it. But my husband consumes a lot more like gamer content. So like I'm aware of the culture. It's around me, but I don't participate in it. I'm certainly not out there having the console wars, and I did not grow up with it. That's the other thing. We had a PC. My family was like very early adopters of PC stuff. So I did have very early PC games. I started with the DOS games and went on from there. We had everything on up from there. But I never had a console. I was not allowed to play anything particularly violent. I was never like in the zeitgeist of games. So Myst is more where it was at in my house. It's not like, and honestly, Myst was pretty scary for me at the time. When you're suddenly surprised by like, oh God, there's like sudden FMV of a creepy, crazy guy in a book. That was pretty creepy at the time for me, which is really funny to think now. My standards have definitely changed, but it kind of, it falls into the like the negative, where it's like walking simulator is a term for things like What Remains of Edith Finch, where there's little in the way of gameplay and you're more just like kind of walking through a story. And that is used as a negative term most of the time. I don't think it inherently needs to be. I think there are a lot of really good games. And in that sense, I mean, I don't know what to call them except a game, because we don't really have a term for that kind of interactive or barely interactive fiction, like where you're just kind of walking through a thing other than a game. But, there's some really good art that's out there that is in that genre, whether it is super interactive or not. So I think it, calling, like just writing things off for being walking simulators is it may not be for you, but it doesn't mean it's a bad piece of art. But it does kind of end up in that same pile, I think, this series a lot. So I don't know who would have interviewed them, because I know that there would have been, among the niche press, a certain amount of, is it really a game though? But like they almost would have had to report on it because it was a cultural phenomenon to a degree. So like, I don't know. I don't know what they would have done. I mean, I guess I could try to dig through history and find out, but off the top of my head, I haven't really seen, so I don't really know. But you want to talk about the prologue here? Dig into the text a little bit. There were some things that surprised me a little bit just in these few pages. To be honest, I mean, the predictions that I had. I have certainly had to revise them between my earliest predictions and the predictions I made last time. But I do think I may not have been wrong about the whole, we talked about, is this actually going to be, I mean, it says these pages are your link to the story of Idra. Is it actually going to be his story, or is it going to be Idris's story? I don't know that it's going to be his story, because it certainly doesn't start with him.
Yeah, there's definitely a notable lack of Idra in the prologue.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, there is a character who's not Atris who's named in the prologue. It's not Idra. It's like, is this really Idra's story? I don't know about that. But we are immediately back in Denis, which was a little bit of a surprise to me, because I thought, well, if they're refugees, right? Why would we be going back? I mean, we wrote a whole other age. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's just, is this supposed to take place before Exile or after? It's surely before, right? Because it came out when Riven came out. Like, Exile was at best a gleam in Rand's eye, but like, I mean, maybe did you write the age in response to the state of the city? I don't know. But like, it's not like he didn't know what the condition of the city was, right? Because he'd been there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's not like he wouldn't have known. I felt immediately, I will say, like, overall impression, before we talk about any of the specific text, overall impression is this is Exile Atris. This is the overly confident, feels like he knows everything about stuff Atris. This is the I am Denis, regardless of the fact that I'm only one quarter. This is him. This is that. This is it does kind of make me feel like I need to revise my feelings about Exile's Atris journal. I still don't like it. He does not come off well in Exile to me. because he does come off as like,
You don't say.
yeah, it's I mean, between the journals and the end where he gives the YouTuber apology letter at the end, like where it's like, I'm sorry that Savidro felt that he was harmed. Like that's so the end of that game. But my from like whatever like 4 lines he has in the prologue already feels like that Atris. So it's like at the time I was like, okay, Mary doesn't know who Atris is yet, and she was writing it. So like clearly that's what happened. No, apparently that's what Rand was thinking at some point in time around 1997. And I know that it was years before Exile came out, but like there was a period of time where he seemed to be thinking of him at least more that way. So if this was material that Mary was given to understand the story and the characters, I can see where she would get that, even just from this. And if it continues throughout the book, then I can definitely see where she would have gotten that idea. Because it definitely feels like we have Savior Atris in full force here. And he doesn't deserve that at all. In no way did he earn this. Which is weird to me. So let's at least summarize what happens. I mean, there's not a lot of pages of it, but we have, going back to Denis, it's quiet. There is a suspicious bit of activity, however, outside in the city. We do not know who it is, but there is someone here. Also, simultaneously, there is noise over at Kavir as something is happening. And that something is that Atris and some number of workmen, presumably Denis workmen, are digging their way out of that chamber where Gen locked him in at the end of Book of Atris.
Well, hold on. Why do you say they're Denis workmen?
I mean, I don't know that for sure. I know that one person is, and that's Iris, the guy who's the one named guy, because when Atris talks to him at the end, when he says maybe we should arm ourselves, Atris says against other Denis. No, Iris, if anyone's here, they will be friends, not foes. Like us, they will have returned for a reason. So that implies to me that at least Iris is.
Okay, interesting.
Whether the others are, I don't know, but at least one guy is. So, because he wouldn't have said us, it would have been. He's including Iris and himself in Denis people, which is so funny when you've just read Book of Tiana, because it's like, they wouldn't take you.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I had forgotten he says us there, and that is a good point. So I won't say further on where that goes, but I will. But as for Atris referring to himself as Denis, I think that is interesting.
It is. That was the most interesting thing to me, actually, is that he has fully embraced this identity, and it's very ironic, like isn't the right word, but like the popular use of ironic, that he would embrace that. It feels very like cultural appropriation-y somehow, in a way. It's like, you didn't grow up in it, you're only a quarter it, they are extremely racist. Like, why do you think you would belong in this? But you've just decided that the quarter of your blood that is this is your entire identity now. Like, I don't know, it feels weird to me.
It is hard for me to explain why Atris is thinking that way. And I don't, because he's not he hasn't, I don't know if consistently well, I don't know if previously he felt that way. He certainly, as a
that's
kid,
the weird thing, right?
He had a romantic view of it because Anna had taught it to him as fiction. And so he sort of just thought it would be fun if this fiction was true, and then he found out it was true. But yeah, I don't know for him what that even
Well, and what's weird
means.
to me is, like, isn't it embracing his father's legacy? Because Gen was very, like, when Atris knew him, was very, like, you and I will be we'll rebuild the Denis, right? Like, join me and together we will rule the empire, right? Like, very much
Yeah,
that, and very much Denis supremacist, very much ignoring his human half. So it feels
yeah.
strange to embrace that so wholeheartedly when it's what Gen wanted him to do, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that they certainly do not get along. So, like, why would you do that? And did Anna and Katran not provide any checks and balances on this? Like, they don't like Gen. I mean, Anna has complicated feelings, let's be real. But she certainly helped to imprison him. So we know that she understands that her son became a danger. Although I would still love to have an actual book of Tiana where we hear things from Anna's perspective, but that won't ever happen. So we won't ever really delve into her complicated feelings post that book, I'm sure. But like, it seems to me as though if Atris was becoming more and more like his father, that these two women in his life at least should have been like, reality check, Atris, not cool. We're not saying that you can't appreciate your heritage, but at the same time, you're getting a little Gen here, and that's not going to be okay. I mean, especially Katran, because like she doesn't have to have complicated feelings about this being a relative, a child of hers. Like she was just abused by him. Like she has no complicated feelings. She just doesn't like him. So
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see going forward if there are any signs of Catherine or Katran saying anything like that.
Really.
Is she going to go around saying, "Well, yeah, we Dunny," or
yeah. I mean, it's weird because wouldn't she feel like you sound like your father? And wouldn't that be chilling? Like, nobody, generally speaking, people don't want to be told you're like your parent. Everybody has a thing where it's like, you don't want to be compared to your parent about at least one thing, right? But wouldn't that, for Atris specifically, who was also abused by his father, wouldn't that be chilling if someone was like, you sound like your dad? And yet here he is. He sounds like his dad. He's like a nicer version of his dad. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, but it's kind of the difference between, like, I mean, you can still have bad ideology even if you say it in a nicer way. And it's feeling like you're getting a little close to the racial supremacy here. I think he's still in the appreciating his Denis heritage. I think a lot of people live in denial when that fact is presented to them. Yeah, you're not wrong, Astrologa. I feel like it would be like, wouldn't it be hard for his wife to ignore that though? Like, I feel like she would bring it up more often, but at the same time, I also feel like we do know that from the amount of story that we get about her outside of Book of Atris, she is no longer as awesome as she was in that book ever again. So she probably wouldn't have spoken up as much as I would have liked her to. But oh well.
Well, and it's also him calling himself Dunny also rubs against the grain of what we know the last 40, well, because and we'll get to that. I'm
It's
sure
40 years.
that we now know it's 40 years, so 10 years after Riven. But he's lived for 40 years with, well, let's say 30 because of the burning of the books. But he's lived for 30 years with the ages of Myst. right, which is
Right.
an interesting, and it's, I think it's important that, right, that Cirrus refers to, and I think there's maybe more than one reference to it, of the ages of Myst. And actually Cirrus and Achenar refer to the ages of Myst. It appears that the family referred to all of Atris's post um, trapping Den writing as
Mhm.
this whole category unto
Yeah, it's
itself
its own
of
canon.
yeah
Yeah.
of Myst, and
Which is a
they
little
set up.
interesting, isn't it? Like, why? Sure, a lot of them are linked from Mist Island, but at the same time, like labeling them all, I mean, I guess maybe
Oh,
it may have started. I could see it starting as a way for Atris and Katron to like divorce themselves from the Gen era, as it were.
mhm,
You know, like this doesn't have anything to do with him. These are the ages of Mist now.
right, but it's also that it's but he also developed that double firewall, right, to protect
Mhm.
the ages of Myst from Gan,
Right. Yeah.
right, and this is and here right here by drilling through that wall, right,
Mhm.
it's significant because that wall is the
It's a barrier. Yeah.
it's one that wall is one of the firewalls,
Yeah.
right, so he is officially breaking down all of that, but
I hadn't
in the
really thought
process
about
is
that
referring to him
aspect.
as as and so he's now talking about himself as Dunny, but previously it was
Mhm.
the ages of Dunny and the ages of Myst, and a double firewall is between them.
So
And so
it is a little
so
bit, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit more symbolic, I guess, than I had even, like, I hadn't
mhm,
considered the aspect of like now it's safe because he's really locked him away, so it's, you know, he's not worried about him getting out, so that he can break the firewall. I hadn't really thought about that part of it, but yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It is definitely, it would have been a, like, not just an emotional shift, but like a safety, uh, a
mhm,
reconsideration of his own and his family's and his age's safety.
right. Um, yeah, so it's definitely so it's definitely in the context of he has felt that he cannot be uh, Dunny, or
Right.
he can't participate in Dunny. I mean, it's probably a better way of saying
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as his
up
father
until
is,
now.
uh, I like almost want to say alive because he's effectively dead to them at this point, regardless of how long he lives in the prison age.
Hmm.
Is, you know, he's gone. He's not. They're not. Nobody's going to go get him.
Hmm.
So he's not coming
Although
back.
although remember, it is significant. We've learned from the Book of Tiana, as the Book of Tiana makes a big deal about it, right?
Mm,
That it's recently dead organic matter can link. So they can
yeah.
release Gen whenever they want. All they need to do is just
I
take
mean, they
some
could.
rice and just pour it onto. They can just pour some rice onto the onto the linking panel, and they could free him.
Well, I kind of wonder if they have it though, because wouldn't that book have been left on Riven as it collapsed, or in his? It would have been in his age, right? Whatever that was. I forget what number it was. It was like 227 or whatever.
233.
Wow, that you remember that is crazy. But wait, that's a freaking
Well,
reference in Blueprints, man. That's one of the lockers, I think. One of the vault keys is 233, I think.
oh really? Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, and it's partly inspired by
probably
Myst, so I
intentional
wouldn't be
reference.
surprised if that
Yeah,
was actually a legit reference.
yeah. Um, so Catherine takes the book right when you free her,
Right. So it
but
wouldn't have
here
been on his age. But does she
I,
leave it there? Or does she take it with
I
her?
let me let me do some. While we're talking, I want to do a tad bit of digging.
Okay. Because I just literally don't remember. I mean, if they left it on Riven as Riven fell apart, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody's getting that back.
Oh yeah, if it's on the Riven.
Yeah, if she took it with her, then it's up in the air. We don't really know. I mean, they could have just still destroyed it later. Like, there's nothing stopping them from burning it afterward, except whatever emotional thing is stopping them. But like, you know, if she left it there, then it's gone, and so he's dead. As far as anyone's concerned.
It just started.
Yeah, okay. Well, good time for research then, I guess.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah, because I mean, do we even know? Because, like, can we even prove whether she left it there or not? And I don't know if we can. Because, I mean, I don't know if we see evidence one way or another. Because all we really see of her after that is, like, Atris, hugs, bye, stranger, good luck. That's pretty much all we get to see of her after we rescue her, isn't it? I don't know if we get to find out what happened to it. Maybe it's left to our imagination.
Well, there's a lot that we don't know about what Catherine did while she was away, but
yeah,
but we do know.
Why would she preserve it, though? This is again we're talking about.
In my headcanon, she takes one of the 233rd age books.
I think that would be reasonable.
And this is different between the two versions of Riven. This is different between the two versions of Riven. In Riven 19, you can't do it that way in Riven 2024. In Riven 1997, yeah, she could have taken one of the 233rd age books because then there's I like that because there's some neat stuff that results from that, like for instance, not just for instance, one big consequence of that is that Atris can see his mother.
Yeah, because the viewer thing is there.
Yeah. And so anyway, in my headcanon, Catherine did preserve one of the 233rd age linking books.
And I think that would be reasonable anyway, because like I feel like she's smart enough that would be like, his research is there. Let's at least get what let's at least profit from what he did do. He's gone now, so we might as well take it. I feel like she would do that. That would make sense to me. Whether she would take the prison book is a whole other question, because I don't know why she would rescue it. I'm not saying she's like an amoral person or like bloodthirsty, but I do feel like at least Book of Atris Katran she wouldn't have a problem just making sure that he could not come back, because this is the guy who abused her, enslaved her people, destroyed her world, right? Mm-hmm. Why would she want there to be any possibility? I feel like she would leave it. But but on the other hand, would she want to be sure? Would she want to take it with her and burn it herself? And then struggle to do that because of Atris.
Which book are we talking about?
The linking book to Gen, where he is, his prison book. Not 230. Yeah. So.
She might have half a mind to destroy it then and there. Yes.
Yeah.
However, okay, so I've done my research, and this is Riven 1997.
Yeah. Well, I would say that at least in relation to the books, that would be the one to look at, because 2024 hadn't been made yet.
Yeah. And I have reluctance to, putting Riven 2024 in my headcanon
it's very Star Wars Special Edition situation.
Yeah, but
rewriting it many years after the fact.
What we do know is that Catherine takes a book and hands it to Atris, who then opens it briefly um,
Yeah,
for
actually,
for
yeah.
like about a second and a half,
Yeah.
and then closes it and puts it in his bag.
So he has it.
Yeah, I mean that's and probably the game
Well,
is implying that
yeah,
that is the prison book, but it could be a
yeah.
233rd age book.
It could
It
be. It could
also,
be.
because Catherine needs to walk out of there with, and this is where we could have a whole conversation. Actually this would be a really fun conversation for those who really are advocates for dresses having pockets. Um,
Yes, I'm an advocate
this
for pockets for all.
equal opportunity pockets. Um, uh, it, it, for those who support dresses having pockets, and if we think that the Rivenese might have supported dresses having pockets, it's hard to say all of what's on her, because she
True.
needs to walk out of there the um, with the Tay descriptive book at a
Right.
minimum,
Yeah.
and then she has to walk out with, and then possibly, right, the prison book and a
Mhm.
233rd age linking book.
Right. That's a
So,
not
so
insignificant amount of cargo to be having when you do not have a bag on you.
yeah, yeah. And so we know that one of them,
She handed one of them to him.
yes, yeah. So we know
We
one of
don't
those
technically
three
know
things made
which.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can't, but there is an implication that he's seen proof that Gen is trapped. I think. I think that's what they intended. Is that what we need to take away from it? That's a whole other question, I guess. Because I guess we could interpret it however we want, but
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, they probably intended, and I think that when I have been watching it, I mean, I didn't remember off the top of my head, but I think seeing it, my interpretation was that is the prison book. This is proof of capture. This is essentially like, I want
Yeah,
you to bring me his head. Like, that's, she did.
yeah. I think that, and yeah, and I agree that that's probably what the designers
Yeah,
had in mind.
yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine that it wasn't, but at the same time,
But I
I
think
don't think
Etienne,
Atris would burn it.
um,
I don't think Atris could, but I think Katron could. Outside of hurting his feelings, she might be concerned about that. It really depends on how close they got.
yeah.
So, and at that
Um,
point, they would have been together for years. It's
mhm.
still wild to me. She should have left right away, but whatever.
Oh yeah, actually, I'm thinking though, one argument for her not burning it
Mm-hmm.
is she can open it up and monologue.
I don't think she's that kind of person, though.
But maybe not.
She
But
doesn't strike
maybe.
me as that kind of person. I don't feel like she would need the trophy or need to gloat or anything or need to.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
don't think that she would believe that he could appreciate what he had done, even if she spent 30 years telling it to him daily. I don't think that she would find that to be a productive use of her time. And I think I would agree
Sure.
with her on that.
Okay. Okay.
But she
Okay.
just
That makes
hasn't.
sense.
I mean, we have so little material to base our impressions of her on, really. But my
Hmm.
impression of her from the journals in Riven, and especially from Book of Atris, where we get a little bit where Semicolon Guy has come through to give us more characterization of this woman.
Hmm.
We we don't really see somebody, I don't think, who would want to dwell on things like that in that way. I think because her life has been kind of hard, she's like, I cut clean, move on kind of thing, which is why it's very strange to me, because I feel like the thing that is the most out of character for the rest of her characterization is the fact that she has stayed with Atris.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And
I really feel like everything else about what we know about her would suggest she wouldn't stay with this guy, but yet we have the evidence that she did. I
hmm.
don't know. I mean, relationships are complicated, right? People stay in them for a lot of different reasons, but that feels the most counter to her other characterization to me, weirdly, because I feel like she's, if anything, married to her people more than she could ever be married to a single
Well,
person.
no, Well, no,
Like she's
not to her people.
well, I mean, I think more than her. Well, it, that may not have been the best way to express it, but like her mission to ensure that her people are saved and are fine is, I think, way more important to her than anything else. I don't think Atris even comes close.
It doesn't.
She doesn't want to be seen as a god. I mean, the way that they treat her when she goes back, she doesn't want to be seen that way. That for sure. But that doesn't mean that it's not important to her. I think that might be why she supports his mission to help the Denis. Because she may see it as similar to saving her people.
Somewhat, yeah. That's a good point.
So that would actually justify staying with him in a way, to me. Because she sees this as a similarity that they share.
That's a good point.
I don't know.
And this is, we're about to have well, actually, let me ask you this it's in the form of a prediction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel it coming. I feel it coming. I think I know what you're going to ask, but go ahead.
Yeah, what will her relationship with the Rivenese be in this book?
That is not the question I thought you were going to ask me. I thought you were going to ask me, how much do you think we're going to see of her in this book?
Oh, okay.
I thought that was going to be the question, because my answer to that was going to be almost nothing. I think we're going to see passing references to her and to Anna, but I do not think we are actually going to see very much of them at all. And I say that because these guys do not know how to write women and do not seem to want to. They name a book after a woman and then run away from writing about her as much as possible. Like, they do give her time. They give her more time than they gave Katran, but at the same time, do they give her as much time as you would ordinarily expect somebody who's in the title of the book to get? No, really not. So I don't know. I genuinely do not expect that we will get much more information about her in this book. I think it would be weird if she's not even mentioned. Because theoretically they love each other very much. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of lip service paid to this, like, my wife, my husband, but like, do they? I don't know. I don't really see evidence of it. I mean, like, the most compelling evidence that Atris cares at all is in Riven 2024. So I don't know what to think about that. Because the tear stains in the journal when he's writing about her being gone is the most compelling evidence that he cares. Because outside of that, not a whole lot of evidence that she matters all that much to him. But again, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It always feels weird to say, but the most autistic coded books in the history of the world. These characters, Atris and his grandfather, both Atrises, are very neurodivergent coded, we'll say. So I feel like maybe that would be, like, maybe he does care, but it's hard for him to, like, you don't see an outward expression of it because it just doesn't look like that for him. That's entirely possible. I guess I cannot say what is in his heart, but I don't see a lot of evidence. So it's hard to say what the relationship really is, but we do know it's on the rocks by Myst 4, so hard to say. But at the same time, my guy sent me to find his wife. I know, yeah, Astral Orca, yeah, but the stranger just solves all of his family problems, so it's like it's almost expected that he would send you to find his wife. Like, it'd be like, I can't do it. I have to be writing. So, you go do my family stuff for me. Okay. Like, you take care of my family. I'm going to be at my writing desk. Like, that's pretty much his MO. Personal growth and accountability. Nah, that is kind of Atris's whole problem, isn't it? How many times were we like world's worst father, ignoring the fact that Gen was a worse father technically? Atris, he's not a good partner. He's not a good dad. And it's hard to say, again, because he is extremely neurodivergent coded. It's like, how much of it is his fault? Like, in a world where there wouldn't be people who would understand that and be able to help him interface with other people in a way that he understood and they understood. Like, in a world where he's not going to get help with that, is it his fault if that's the situation? They've never told us that's the situation. They've just shown us it's the situation, I would say. But at the same time, like, we can't prove that. We don't have enough information about it. But like, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I do have a certain amount of sympathy. At the same time, you could try, Atris. You could try. It feels like to a certain extent he just doesn't make, especially with his children, doesn't really make an effort. I feel like maybe all of his emotional energy does get spent on Katran, but that's still not very much. Which isn't to say that he doesn't feel like he cares about them. It's just, maybe he can't give them what they need or doesn't see what they need. That's possible. Which would make kind of the fact that, like, I mean, Akinar's really kind of just a tragic figure as far as I'm concerned, because he has some other sort of problem, it would seem. I don't know what it is. I wouldn't even venture to try to couch diagnose him because we very much do not have enough information. And it's more like, honestly, the way that he's written is, we are writing a garden variety crazy person as unto television stereotypes, and we didn't pick a disorder. So it's very hard to say, but it does seem that there's something up with him, and he's desperate to be loved by his parents, and his father just doesn't give it to him. And so he's starved for that attention. His brother gives him that attention, and his brother manipulates him. And his life just kind of spirals into disaster. And I do very much feel for him. And I think that's why I'm willing to include Myst 4, is because we do get to see, more of that, whereas we didn't really before know exactly how rough he may have had it. Emotionally, at least. I think he had his basic needs met, but not his emotional needs. So how do I think she would be with her people? I don't think we're going to see very much of her to begin with, because they're going to avoid writing about women. And I think that we may not get that much information, but we will probably not see anything about her doing anything with her people. If we see her, we will probably see her only in relation to whatever Atris is doing, I would imagine. I don't think we're really going to get, at most, we might get a little mention that Tay exists or something. I don't know. Like, it would be, I highly doubt, despite the fact that this came out the same year as Riven, I don't think we're going to see a lot of crossover in lore. I think that this is going to diverge pretty hard from that. So I really don't think we're going to get very much. And I suspect, because you asked me, that we're going to get no evidence that she cares about her people.
It's been a little while, but didn't she, before the plan to capture Gap, didn't she propose just leaving with Atris?
She did, but this is me. You know me. I read into everything. I think that the thing was, I mean, you have to consider that at the time, the most pressing issue for her was the marriage.
True.
And that was going to be horrifying for her. So self-preservation would have been a higher priority than rescuing her people. I think once she had saved herself, that the priorities would change. But I think in that moment, it was more important that she not be in his clutches in that way. I think it would have been a more interesting story had she been. Not that I want her to suffer, but I think there could have been a very interesting story there. But, she definitely didn't want that. So I think that I wouldn't hold it against her love for people. I think it's understandable. I mean, not a lot of people could in that situation be completely selfless about it. I think it would be like, well, I can't save them if I don't save myself. I'll come back for you guys. And I think she would only be able to think about that after she was out. So, because it was,
but I think, can we agree that like you in the past have compared Catherine to the Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and have quoted the "I want so much more than this provincial life."
Yeah, she definitely. Yeah, that is true.
With respect to her.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that
she is wanting that there's a strong country girl wanting to go live in the big city thread to her.
There is, for sure. I don't think that means that she doesn't care that her world is dying. I think she does care about that. Like, you can want both at the same time. You can not want to live there, but also know that they're not dead.
Right.
You can want to be somewhere else and do other things and still want to know that where you left and the people that you left are fine. So I think, and again, I mean, I think priorities would shift when she did get what she wanted and she was out. You know, it would be easier to even examine other feelings after that. So I mean, I think that those aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. I also think that age may have something to do with it as well. You know, I think you get a different feeling about like where you came from and your history, you know, the older you get, which may tie into how Atris is embracing his Dini heritage. I don't know. Although the way he's doing it feels very immature to me personally. It doesn't feel like an act of maturity. It feels more like a, I don't know. I'm getting not comfortable vibes about it, but maybe they'll turn away from Myst 3 Atris as the book goes on. We'll see. I'm not getting great vibes right now, though. The personal growth and accountability, feels very strong. I have to say, of the prologue, I read it incorrectly the first time.
Okay.
I misunderstood what was happening. And I had to go back. I thought that they were outside the room breaking in. I was wrong. And I understood that by the time I reached the end of the prologue, because they did have that mention of like, this is a place where, you know, a father had once imprisoned his son to teach him a lesson. I was like, what? Because here's what I thought was happening. I thought at first that, and this was where I finally figured it out, was because my brain was going like, are we saying Ricari trapped Theovis in here? Because he didn't. He wasn't alive so you couldn't have. And then what?
Boy.
And then I was like, oh no, I have to go back farther. I have to go back another book.
Yeah,
like this isn't the thing that I thought.
On a detour there for a moment.
To be fair, Book of Tiana is more recent history, both for me and for whoever would have been reading this. So it's more in your mind. And that is a fraught father and son relationship as well. But I took like maybe 5 minutes to try to figure out whether Ricari was ever alive to do anything to him. And then finally was like, wait, I remember what you're talking about. And then I had to go back and reread the whole thing, flipping it in my head, at which point now the fact that there was some mysterious person, some shadowy figure out in the city became ominous. It was no longer like, this is somebody with them. Oh no, this could be very bad. This is creepy now. It could be fine. This could be Era. I don't know. But it could also be literally anybody that we don't have a confirmed death on.
Sure.
Because they live a long time, the Dini, and anybody could still be alive. If we didn't see a body, it could be them. And we just don't know. I mean, I don't think we have a Viovis death. So the transcendently asinine gentleman could still be in existence as far as we know, I think. So, because they didn't resolve anything with that. So, who knows? But
Yeah, there is the way that is phrased is there is a little bit of off-screen death to Vivus that yeah. Now,
but we didn't see body.
Right.
If it happened off screen, I'm not willing to count it yet.
Yeah.
I need proof. I need proof of death, or I'm not assuming, because these guys are authors who would 100% be like, never mind, we want him for the story, so we're just going to say he didn't die.
Right. Now, I mean, obviously, you know, in normal reality, when you leave someone who has a knife sticking out of them.
Yeah, 100%, but we didn't see him die.
We
assume
world,
he
it
did.
is a little different.
Yeah. And now, to be fair, it is extremely likely, because we also know something about Denis healthcare, and it's not great. Somehow their health, like their medicine, is like way behind all their other technology. They do not seem like, for example, they don't just have a hospital age that they carry linking books to when they go out on things like that. Is still crazy to me. That would be the smart thing to do. You make ages, you make linking books, you have hospital there, everybody go hospital, like. But they also don't seem to really have like a hospital in the city either, because like when Gen is sick, they just have they have doctors making house calls.
That's true. Yeah,
like it's very old fashioned.
Yeah, it is.
And
it
like,
is,
yes, it is supposed
whole,
to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it is history, right? Like it's supposed to be 1800s or something, but at the same time, like the rest of their tech is like.
You keep saying that. It's not. Nobody involved knows that it's the 1800s.
Okay, we don't know. Sure. But it's like it's sort of the trappings that they want to write for it are going to fall into a certain sort of steampunk aesthetic. The aesthetic that they aim for is historical. We'll say that. Does that work for you? Because I feel like there is a certain like historical aesthetic to the series as a whole, but in a steampunk way.
Let's
it's Denis punk.
Well, I think in what you are familiar with so far, yes, I can.
Okay.
I can.
Okay.
You know, then yeah. I mean, obviously,
there may be more in here,
and what doesn't, in what you don't recognize it existing. That we do have Dunny in space is a very real thing.
I find that very funny.
But
that's a good joke. I like it.
Space study. But anyway, we
it feels like a movie title. Dunny in space. That would not do well at the box office. But yeah, I misunderstood. At the very least, I feel like what evidence we have right now up to here suggests that I maybe shouldn't expect like shiny, sterile hospitals, but at the same time, they're more advanced than like the amount of medicine that we've seen, which is weird. Like, I feel like their medical science is just way behind. I feel like some of these things should have been solvable for them, and I don't know why it's not, which could lead one to conjecture, perhaps, that they don't get sick or hurt very often, which I don't think is true. I mean, if you're living for 300 years, you're getting sick. Like, at some point, come on. Just statistically, surely? That's a long time to be alive without being ill or ever injuring yourself in a medical intervention necessary kind of way. So chances are Viovis couldn't be saved by their medical technology. Sure. But we didn't technically confirm that he was no longer breathing. We just assume that he wasn't. But it could be, I mean, it could be a lot of people. Like, we didn't, you know, you asked, did you think we're going to see Swarner? I doubt it, but like, we don't know what happened to him. He could be alive. He could be there.
Mhm.
It could be him. And he's pretty sinister, honestly. He was very quiet in the last book, but
Mhm.
pretty evil all the same. So, you know, it does feel sinister that there's somebody out there, which makes, here's the other thing about Atris in this. Okay, then the characterization that we've gotten just in the prologue, that was really, it gave me pause for a few minutes to think about. And that's the whole conversation about whether they should be armed. Now,
Mhm.
we know that there's someone out there. He does not know that. But so to be fair, he does not have the information that we have. However, the way he talks about it and the way that Iris talks about it were like simultaneously fascinating, funny, ironic, and sad all at the same time. And I say
Mhm.
that because Iris, we don't know his full heritage, but he is at least some part Denis because he is included in the us, the other Denis. So he is at least some part, because we can assume that since Atris is only 1/4, that he would consider somebody who was half or a quarter to also be Denis enough to include, right? Whether or not full blood Denis would consider them that is a whole different question, but he would consider him that. And so from what we know from the last book, where violence, especially against each other, was so unthinkable. Like the double murder was, they
Mhm.
couldn't comprehend. They were just like, it wasn't just that they were appalled, it was like a lack of understanding. Because it's just like, how could you, what is this?
Mhm.
Like, who does that? Right? So the fact that Iris, who may be full blood Denis, we don't know, would bring up the idea of arming themselves is kind of sad to me. Like, it kind of shows the sort of cultural trauma that they have after the fall. Because that would have been an unthinkable idea to the people that we saw in the last book. It would be like, why would we arm ourselves to go into our own city? Right?
Mhm.
And the idea that this guy is like, who probably didn't grow up there. I mean, he's said to be young. Young for a Denis could be like 75, but like, if Atris is considering him young, he's younger than Atris, so probably under 40. Even though Atris should be what, like 60 or something in this. Because it's been 40 years.
Yeah.
He would have been at least in his 20s since that is, so there's a little bit, I
Yeah,
tried to calculate. I did
right
decide that
around
it
60.
worked.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did
we
decide that he
can.
would have to be there.
Yes, he would be right around 60. Yeah.
There's a little ambiguity in Book of Atris about like how time is passing when he's with Gen, but all the same, I think you can fit it into like, you're not going to be more than like 5 years off, probably, one way or the other. But so he's around 60.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that probably Iris was not raised in the city, even if he is full blood. But just the fact that has changed, that he doesn't find it unthinkable to do, right, is kind of sad to me. I mean, sure, he's not specifically thinking that there would be Denis people on the other side, but they were not, they were not interested in weapons particularly much. I mean, they surely fought with people occasionally on ages that they visited, surely had to defend themselves sometimes, but overall, culturally, this was not something that they did. And so the fact that he brings it up is kind of just sad. The fact that Atris, though, is the one who says, don't be ridiculous. If anybody's here, it would be our own people. You would never do. That's also weird. That's funny in a
Yeah, it is weird.
way. Because he's the one who's experienced, like, we know he's experienced violence much more directly. And experienced abuse and experienced, like, you know, like, he's had a different life, and he's also, let's just remember, he's only 1/4 Denis, and like, to the Denis people, that would be a huge deal. But it might not be anymore. I mean, like, after you have your numbers decimated like that, do you change your mind about how racist you're gonna be? I don't know. Maybe I'll find out, but I don't know. Does he portray himself as more Denis blood than he is to them? Is that why they accept him? I don't know. Probably not, because I don't think he's a good liar.
It is weird. Yes, you're right. It's his confidence that
Yeah,
Denis would treat him, would
right.
receive him well, is
It,
totally unfounded by anything he's
yeah.
ever
We have
experienced
no
or ever heard.
right. We have no supporting evidence that suggests that they would ever want him there. In fact, they might very well consider killing him, because they certainly considered it for Anna. They didn't want
Yeah.
to, because they don't like violence, but they considered it because they didn't know what else to do. It wasn't completely out of thought, and it wasn't completely out of mind, because they did consider her an animal. I mean, let's remember that. But at the same time, like, they would probably consider him that as well. They certainly didn't like Gen. It was hard to get him accepted at all. And I mean, the doctor considered it. The doctor was like, you should just put it out of its misery, basically. Great, thanks. Good medicine there. It's just so, it kind of shows how little he actually understands about his heritage, which I think is why it feels like cultural appropriation to me. It's that kind of thing where, like, somebody finds out that they're like 164th Native American or something. And then they feel like they're going to adopt that, even though they're not at all part of that culture, and it's completely inappropriate for them to pretend that they know anything about it, right? It feels like that.
Insert comment here about Pow Wow Chow.
Pow Wow Chow. Oh dear. It's
For those who don't know the reference, they're welcome to look it up.
I will later, but it doesn't feel good, is what I'm saying. It feels like somebody who's definitely an outsider. And the thing is, it's because we know the context of the culture, and he doesn't, that we can feel like, boy, you're not. You're saying you are, but like, no. But what's also weird to me is that, strangely, at the same time that he is completely misunderstanding the culture that he's trying to embrace, he's also talking more like them than Iris is. Because they never felt like there was any danger. The first time they really felt like there was danger was when Anna showed up, because of someone from the surface had invaded. And that was very scary. But they didn't feel like they were dangerous to each other, which is, Viovis and Agaris exploited that, and Swarnir from behind the scenes exploited that a lot. I mean, danger to them was like just rocking the boat. Oh no, you flaunted convention in the council. My heart can't handle the stress. Like, that's the level they were on. And the way that Atris is just so almost condescendingly confident that things are fine because this is Denis, it feels very much like the old establishment, and yet he is the least representative of that you could probably get, outside of somebody who's just completely not Denis at all. So there's a certain dissonance there, especially if you came right off of the previous book, where you're like, wait a second. First of all, they would not accept you at all. Second of all, you don't know that it's not dangerous. You don't know what the fall actually... Now, that is actually a thing. He doesn't actually know what the fall actually was, because Gen told him something that wasn't it. If we assume that what we saw him told in Book of Atris is what he heard, and that is what he learned, and that they didn't retcon it so that Gen told him what actually happened later, or whatever.
Well, I'm going to assume that on Myst, Anna has filled him in on a lot of the information that she withheld from him as a
I mean,
child.
maybe. I mean, she has a lot of trauma. I don't know how easy it would be for her to be
Not easy at all,
honest.
but
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't think she would have given him everything.
maybe,
I think there would still be things that she would hold back, probably, but he may know more. Yeah, than he
maybe
did.
not. I think maybe personal things, but I'm just gonna. I'm assuming that
Right.
she's given him enough of the information, um, so that. Right, and it's not like he's standing here right now saying,
Mhm.
okay, I'm about to break through. Right, I'm about to break through the Great Firewall. I wish Grandma had prepared me for this. Right, that doesn't seem to be his feeling at
Yeah.
all.
Well, I think we also have to remember that she didn't know everything either. We know more than any of them knew.
Right, right.
I mean, I, did she ever get the information about why the plague was even there? I don't think she did. I mean, she knew that everybody got sick and that something happened. There was a big cloud and that.
Mm-hmm.
But did she ever find out that Agaris was behind it? That
All
Viovis
she,
was behind it, even?
yeah, that's that's an interesting thing, and I was thinking about during your read through, because so she would know that
Mm,
uh, Atris discovered the fans down in the
right,
tunnels.
right,
Although what that means is we don't understand what that means. It's not clear what she would make of that, but that she
yeah,
would know that she would know that Atris thinks that that was the work of Theovis. Um,
right.
she
She would
would,
have known what they planned, anything that they wrote down, because she scoured their hideout.
yeah, but not this,
Right.
right? Right.
She still
This is
wouldn't know what actually happened, even if she
that
had some planning stuff. She
she
wouldn't
knows,
really know.
and what she, I mean, specifically, she knows that Atris saw two men
Mhm.
pulling a cart
Right,
that he thinks are Garrison Vietas. He,
right,
she'll know about the fans. She'll know about the whole residue of the bioweapon,
right.
and she'll know about the tremors. Although obviously that's
Yeah, that's not anything that they
but
did as far as we know, but well, I
but
mean, I still think that maybe they were blowing a crack in the wall and that was what the tremors were, but hard to say.
yeah, but however we understand that,
Yeah,
she would know up right. So she would know everything that Atris knew up to his final link back,
right.
when he collapsed.
But she wouldn't know
But
anything about like the she didn't see everything that we saw. We don't She wouldn't know about how Agaris manipulated Viovis through the whole thing, set him up the first time and then drew him in the second time. She wouldn't
well, no,
know anything
she knows
about
about that because she knows because that's her whole speech. That was her whole speech at sentencing
uh,
was about
yeah,
that.
yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
But
Oh,
but as far as the very end, all she would know is she was standing there at the dock.
yeah.
Agaris, presumably like pulled a knife or a gun, like snuck up behind her and pulled a knife or a gun.
Knife, I would assume, yeah. Because
And
just
then
because knives were involved later, so
yeah,
I assume it was a knife.
sure. And then took and then so she knew that Agaris was involved in something, or at least he was out.
Right.
And then she knows that when Atris shows up, I think he makes a brief comment that Viovis is dead.
Yeah. Even though we don't
Um,
technically know. It's like 99.9%, but I'm gonna
right,
allow a
but
tiny bit.
but she knows nothing. She knows nothing about. We know she knows nothing about the whole final conversation between Atris and
Right.
Viovis
Right.
because
Yeah.
because no one knows anything about that
Right,
conversation
just
because
the
they
two.
both
Yeah,
promptly go
yeah,
off
yeah.
and die.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
and so unless she goes back, we don't know how much time she spent in the cavern
Yeah,
after a Garrisonatrix died.
right.
She may have. I sort of had the feeling that she tried to get out of there as quickly as possible, just emotionally. But
That was my
and
assumption as well,
mm,
especially because her son was with her, wasn't he?
right, yes,
Wasn't
yeah,
Gen was
and
there? And he was 8 at the time. She's gonna get him out. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think at that point she's gonna linger around because it's gonna be I protect. She's gonna be in mom mode. Protect son. Get him out.
yeah, yes, yeah. So it so it's whether it's I think unlikely that she took the time to go back
Yeah,
and find VFS's body in that, whatever that was, a restaurant or wherever.
whatever it was. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Um, and so yeah, so that's all she knows.
Yeah, she doesn't have the full information. She does have quite a bit of it, but she doesn't have the full information. And I mean, years have passed as well. Like even if you're just talking, between there and Myst Island, which is still well before this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, it, how clear the memories are is another
Right,
question. What has changed due to her feelings about it in the meantime?
right.
I mean, she's clearly kind of like blocked things out to a certain extent, I feel, by Book of Atris when she is telling him stuff at the time. And yes, she is deliberately withholding some things, but I think other things she just doesn't want to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just has blocked that off in her mind or
Yeah.
changed the narrative to a degree.
Well,
Um
where she could have been helpful, and obviously Atris has some experience because
mhm,
he searched the cavern for a couple of years himself, but she
yeah,
could have been helpful by saying, okay, like on this street, you'll find this building with these supplies in it, and this is where this guild had its stuff,
right.
and if you're looking for some books, there might be some more over there, and so there is some practical mapping
Yeah,
that she
that's true.
could have helped with.
Uh on the topic of times that he's been in Denis places, there is a loose end from Book of Atris that I doubt will be addressed in this. But I remembered because I was thinking back to him being sealed in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me think back to his time with Gen
Yeah.
in the cavern in Kavir. And it made me remember that they went to a room where there were a bunch of people chained to desks.
Yes.
What? we don't see, like, certainly we see severe classism, we see severe racism in Book of Tiana, but what we don't see is outright chained slavery. So and if they were writing books with a like capital B, they were not from the lower city. They were not non-Denis. So who were
Yeah.
these people?
Yeah. That is a good question.
Because I like in the context of what we know now from the second book, it's like only people from the upper city, only the upper class would have been allowed to write books with a capital B. This appears to be a room where that's happening. Um, they would never. So what is that room? What is going on there? Like, what is this secret underbelly of Denis that we don't know about? Like, we already know a lot of bad things about them. Like, but what is this part? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think they're going to ever address that. I think that was some idea that they had floating by and then it never really came to fruition. But I'm intrigued. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to know the answer to that question, but if we were going to get it, we would have got it in the last book. I don't think we're going to touch on it on this one, but I would be very interested to know. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that one up because I had a moment where I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense now. in context. Like, I don't know who they would have been or why they would have been chained up or like what the situation is. I feel like in Book of Atris, the function of that was just to show us the Denis are not all sun and roses. Like, they're not great people. And then we just see in more depth in Book of Tiana that it's really more of like a cultural and political corruption kind of thing, where like things have just stayed in this state, and that has led to these development of these very rigid ideas. And that's more where the like negative parts of it come from, and less like outright violence or anything. Not that they're good to the people of the lower city. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we see no evidence that they chain them up. So at least I don't think they go that far.
I think if we were just going off of the Book of Tiana, which is what we have to do given where you are at this point.
Right.
I guess my guess would be that those were younger guildsmen who were on sort of academic suspension of some type, of like they were, they had I don't know, they had pantsed their master or something during some event, and this was their
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I
this
guess
was
we
their
don't
punishment.
really know what happens when they're young guildsmen, because we time jumped when Gen was a young guildsman, so we don't know, because every time there's something fascinating that would have happened, they time jump.
Right.
I swear to God, they time jump most often when it's something that I want to know about.
But we do know from the books, and since it makes that point, that Gen at age 4 was a guildsman, right?
Yeah.
Which
That's
means
young.
Is that all youthful misbehavior.
All youthful male upperclassmen.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, all of the classic misbehavior at a boys' school would have to be handled through the guilds, and so maybe that's what we're seeing there.
It might be. It might be. I will say that seems a little intense, but the Denis can be kind of intense sometimes. It really depends. They probably wouldn't have changed a punishment that they've done for like 7,000 years. So, they're very much about archaic ideas. I could see that happening, I guess. The other situation that I could see was if these were people who were involved in some sort of high security project, like writing prison books or something, where like their presence needs to be accounted for. Which again, chaining them to the desk seems pretty intense for that, but I don't actually know what that process is like for them. I mean, we did see that it was pretty highly regulated when they were like switching out people to write just like specific portions for the second book for Viovis, but like we don't really know what it normally looks like. Maybe it does look like that. I don't know, but like that was the only possibility I could think of. Punishing young guildsmen, I guess I could see that. They're going to have to punish them somehow, because we know that Gen is teased and bullied, so we know that the usual negative behavior does happen. They don't just pop out behaving more maturely than human children, really.
Yeah.
So they just have longer to grow.
It is 8:00 my time, so
yes,
we need to
is.
wrap up. I do want to point out, because this hasn't come up yet, or at least the significance of it hasn't come up yet. Is I was one big deal for me about this part that I think is a big positive. I was critical of the Book of Tiana for not including the room in Kavir in that book.
Right.
There are other rooms that they describe.
Yeah, we hear a lot about Kavir.
Yeah, but it just seems like it's weird to me that the room wasn't there. But here we go back to the room.
Yeah.
And I think it's always I think this series is always the greatest when you get to have story occurring, and then also it's a place that you've gotten to see as well.
Right.
So I think it's great it's a great start to the book to start there.
Yeah, and I
Obviously,
thought
it's
that the
where we
descriptiveness was better than usual as well. The writing
yeah
itself was a bit
yeah
elevated.
I did yeah I did like the I did like the writing. But yeah, I mean, it's a great place. It's where uh, it's been in every this room has been in every installment in the series so far,
Yeah.
except for Tiana and
Well, I mean, it technically existed there. We just didn't hear about it.
well, yes, but we haven't like. But it's I mean, this room has we've been in this room now
Mm.
in 4 installments in the series so far, and that's
True.
pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. It's a
And
classic room now.
yeah, and so that I love that.
Mhm.
And then we'll go from there.
To determine how far we're reading for
Yeah,
the next one, do we want to count sections that are divided by the little seal because pages won't work since we have different editions?
right. Oh, and
And
I
they're
should
doing
say,
parts, not chapters, because of course they are.
yeah, and I should say, I told you, but I haven't told the audience. The, the um, so I had promised I'm going to do a text comparison of the 2 versions. I'm having hardware problems right now,
Which
and
I
so
can
because
completely
of that,
understand.
so because of that, I was not able to do that, but I will go back
Mhm.
and do that. I don't, I read the new version. I don't, nothing stood out to me as new,
Mhm.
but I will go back and then I'll do it for the next part too. So because
Okay.
of that, it is important to
Yeah.
know how far we're reading. Let me see here.
I mean, about the same length, it looks like, would be 7 or 8 segments.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that they show you a similar page or section break that
Yeah.
I get. So,
So I would propose we could try to go through. So one sort of narrative break that makes some sense
mhm.
is the section that ends with the words I know. The paragraph ends with the words I know. The old man said.
Okay. I mean, we
I
could
think.
also try to do all of part 1. It's not super, super long if you want to do that.
Let's see. How much more
I mean, it's going to be
is
like
part
at
one?
least twice as, like maybe 3 times as much as we did with the prologue, but
Yeah,
you're the
I
one
wouldn't
who's read
even.
it before, so you would know.
Yeah, yeah. This is going on.
Okay.
Yeah. No, no. Let's not
Let me see if
even.
I can find it. I know
Yeah,
the old
we
man said.
will.
That's what she said.
Given our given the pace I know you like to go at with this
Yeah.
stuff, yeah, that's not even.
Okay.
We'll be on part 1 for a while.
All right. Well, I will find that, and
Okay.
I
And
will assume that that is a logical place because you've read before and I haven't. So I will. Well, are you looking at the old version or the new version when you're giving me that quote? By the way.
it's the new version.
Well, because I'm
Okay, it's the
flipping
first.
through and I'm looking at the ends of all of them, and I'm like, I
It's the
don't
first.
see.
It's the first. It's the first 4 subsections. So okay, so I
Okay,
have a subsection. So the first one starts with the word seabirds.
right. Mine
Then
does
we
too.
have Iris.
Yes,
Then we have the hut,
yes,
and then we have Marum.
right.
Spoilers all around.
Well,
And
that was
that's what.
unavoidable when we're trying to figure this out. See
Yeah.
that one? Okay, yeah,
So
I see what you mean. I was looking at the very, very last quote.
mhm,
It's I know the old man said, and then there's another little bit of dialogue at the end. That was what
mhm.
confused me. I was looking at the second part, not the first.
Ah,
So
okay.
I got it. I see. I'll put a little mark there. There we go. Okay. All right. So that's what we'll be doing. The first 4 segments of it. And that will be week after next Monday.
All right.
So sounds good.
Very
so
good.
I will
Well,
let you sign off, and then I'll do a quick little wrap up, and then that'll be it for the day.
okay. Thanks, audience, for
Yeah.
participating.
Thanks for
Good
joining
to-
us. Thank you, Astro
good to talk
Orca,
to
for
you all.
dropping by.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. Thank you.
more to come.